Sometimes you watch these hearings and you're left with one chilling thought. Are we watching the system collapse in real time? Today's session pulled back the curtain on a level of corruption that's hard to ignore. Young officials moving with the confidence of seasoned mob figures and decisions that raise serious questions about accountability at the highest levels. But this story didn't start today. It traces back to when General Mnisi first exposed what many are now calling a deeply rooted network, a moment that may have prevented far greater damage. Now the spotlight turns to Gareth Mani, a man who walked into the hearing with confidence, perhaps even arrogance, believing he could outmaneuver senior counsel Matthew Chaskalson. But what followed was a dramatic shift. When the weight of potential prison time became real, everything changed. In a moment that stunned the room, loyalty gave way to self-preservation, and Sergeant Mnisi was thrown directly into the line of fire. This is not just another hearing. This is a turning point.
Any legitimate basis on which Sergeant Mnisi should have access to this document?
This is a TMPD, no. Permission to expand?
Go ahead.
I'll be very quick. The TMPD report for 03 draft admin report, it makes reference to the closing register items. So on this, when I evaluated this document, there was nothing sensitive that had been done. But my answer is yes. There was no need for him to get this. He could have just got the closing register, which would have been published. It was there on the website. That would have been the best document to get.
Yes, but he didn't get that document. He got this document, which was a draft prepared by someone inside the BEC process.
I can't confirm that. I don't know where he got this document.
Well, it was a draft prepared by someone inside the BEC process was the proposition I was putting to you. A draft administrative report on TMPD 3 could only emerge from someone inside the BEC process. Is that not correct?
It's a proposition, SC, so I'm not going to disagree with you, but I don't know where this could have come from.
Who else would be preparing draft administrative reports in relation to TMPD 3?
SC, I don't know. I can't give an answer to that right
The
now.
only body that could produce draft administrative reports in relation to TMPD 3 at this stage was the BEC, surely.
Okay.
Does the okay mean I agree?
Commissioner, I don't agree. My answer is I don't know, but I'm accepting the proposition that the senior counsel is bringing on board. I just don't want to speculate.
Which other body could have produced this report other than the BEC? Which other body? Certainly could not have been the BAC.
No, it's not the BAC.
So which other body other than the BEC?
I don't have the full report. I can't see the contents of it. So it's very difficult for me to give a conclusive answer and bind someone at this stage.
Can I ask you to look at page 175 where we get past the list?
Yes.
(2.1) Late bids received, if applicable. No late bids received. 3. Pre-compliance. The following 435 bidders were evaluated on pre-compliance. So some evaluation has already taken place. Who does the evaluation on pre-compliance?
It's blank. This means no evaluation has taken place.
It says, well, it is blank at this stage, but it says the following 435 bidders were evaluated on pre-compliance.
So it's a shell. That's what they would have needed to complete once evaluation commences. If it's blank, it means the process had not started.
And it's a shell for whom?
Like I said, I don't know for whom, but I'm accepting the proposition that it could be from BEC.
The proposition wasn't that it was could be.
Ordinarily, Mr. Mnisi, who within Tswane would use this blank? Ordinarily. And please don't be cagey. Ordinarily, who would use this blank?
This blank would be used by members of BEC.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Chaskalson.
Anybody else?
It's incomplete. I don't know. I can't say. But it looks like it could be used by that SC. Anybody else, I don't know.
Well, it's not entirely incomplete, because if we see the list contains 435 bidders, and pre-compliance, item 3 refers to 435 bidders. So someone has taken a template and done some change to it in relation to this bid. You see that?
They've loaded the closing register, the contents of the closing register.
Yes, they've loaded the contents of the closing register and they put it onto a template, which I am assuming is a template used by the BEC.
Yes.
Right. So let's get back to lock and key. Despite lock and key, a document, a template that is used by the BEC has made its way to Sergeant Nkosi. Should that be possible?
And these are the reasons. It shouldn't be possible. The answer is no. But these are the reasons why this tender was cancelled.
This is not the reason why this tender was cancelled. Nowhere in any of the reports does it say Sergeant Nkosi received a template from the BEC, the process was compromised.
I was saying that the test of safety, ensuring the document was safeguarded, was one of the reasons why this tender was cancelled. Not specifically that Sergeant Nkosi, but the test for documents being kept safely was one of the reasons that were identified.
That's the 25th of March. You now know that a template used by the BEC in relation to this tender has been sent to Sergeant Nkosi. That's going to taint the process of this tender, is it not?
No.
So then it's not a reason why the tender was cancelled.
The documents that were lost was the reason. We just agreed, SC, that this was not the reason that Sergeant Nkosi received it. We agreed on that.
Yes, it should have been, but it wasn't.
Yes.
But you knew from the 25th of March that this was happening and that this, objectively viewed, would taint the regularity of this tender.
I had received this. From my evaluation of the document, it contained information of the closing register, which was published. There was no additional sensitive information that was brought on board through evaluating, assessing this document that I had received.
But you knew that the obvious inference to draw from the fact that Sergeant Nkosi sent you this document is that he had someone inside the BEC who was giving him documents.
I didn't know. I don't know where that comes from. So I did not know where he received this.
The obvious inference to be drawn from this was that Sergeant Nkosi had someone inside the BEC who was giving him documents. Is that, do you take issue with that?
I do take. That's not true.
Well, what other inference could you draw?
The truth of where he received this. And the truth of...
From what other source could Sergeant Nkosi possibly have received this document? Bear in mind that you have said, ordinarily, this is a document used by the BEC. So other than the BEC, what would his source have been, ordinarily, other than the BEC?
Yes, Commissioner. That information is known. He received this from the General. He did not receive it from anyone in the BEC.
And where would the General have received it?
The General was he not a member of the BEC?
No, he was not a member of the BEC.
Well, where would the General have received it?
I don't know where he would have received, but he would have received it internally. He would have received it somewhere internally.
Presumably from someone inside the BEC.
Presumably, yes.
Yes.
But
So Sergeant Nkosi had an indirect route into the BEC through the General. You didn't know it at the time, but directly or indirectly, Sergeant Nkosi must have had a route to the BEC to get into the BEC to get this document.
Well, I'm not sure, and I can't comment on that. I've got no comment on that.
Mr. Mnisi, was this a publicly available document?
The document in its form, no.
Yes. So he didn't get it properly. It wasn't shared with him in a permissible way, in a regular way. Surely you must accept that.
I've accepted that, Commissioner, and I've agreed to that.
Yes, that's a simple proposition that's been made to you, that Sergeant Nkosi had possession to a tender-related document that he should not have had. That's a simple proposition that's being made. You must accept that.
Commissioner, I've accepted that.
Okay,
but if you had listened to the discussions, the inference was that Sergeant Nkosi received it from BEC directly. So
I'm reformulating. Sergeant Nkosi had access to a tender-related document that should not have been in his possession. You accept that?
I have accepted that.
And that suggests, or at least on the face of it, is a corruption already of the tender process. It is being muddied. Do you accept that? That
No.
a tender document that is internal of an incomplete tender assessment process is sitting with a member of the public, because that's what he is. It's sitting with a member of a public. That is problematic for that tender process. No?
Commissioner, I don't accept that, with all due respect.
Okay,
The contents
explain.
of this report that's here does not contain any sensitive information
No, it
whatsoever.
doesn't matter. No, from my question, it doesn't matter whether it contains sensitive information or not. It's a tender document or tender-related document. As a matter of policy, it should not be outside
I've agreed to that, yes.
of the municipality. That it is outside of the municipality with a member of the public in itself is an irregularity. You must be able to accept
I've
that.
agreed to that.
Thank you. That's all I'm checking with you. Thank you.
But you didn't take any steps upon being made aware of this irregularity, did you?
Indeed, again, I assessed the content of the document. The document, from my perspective, did not need me to take any further steps. This was information that was already available to the public. Upon my receiving of this document, did not contain any.
What we witnessed today raises serious questions about integrity, loyalty, and the true extent of corruption behind closed doors. As more details emerge, one thing is certain: this story is far from over. If you want continued, unfiltered coverage on developments like this, make sure you stay informed. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think justice will truly be served, or is this just the beginning of a much bigger story? And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next.